Welcome to the St. Charles County Correspondent. I'm Noah Brandt, and I'm here with my good friend and co-publisher, Sam Safa. Sam, how are you? We talked only a week ago, but it seems like 6 months ago.
Well, a lot's happened between now and then. One less important thing, my office is under construction, in case anybody can tell that. We are preparing for baby number two, another room, kicking me out of the office. So
So
that's the
exciting.
yeah, that's the unimportant news. But
But
what
you're in the
happened to you?
office still right now, right? With the dark walls.
Yeah, I'm still here, but you can see behind me, I'm about ready to paint. This will be a beautiful pink color next time you see me, hopefully.
Wow. So exciting. And then are you going to paint the room that will become your new office? Are you going to have
Probably,
it be
most
white or
likely.
gray? Okay.
That's
Are you
low
going to
on
go
the
dark
priority
again?
list, Noah. Low on the
Sure.
priority list.
What if it was full black like the Batcave? That's what I always wanted when I was a little kid, was a full black room.
A black room, even paint the ceilings black. Just go
Yes. And
from
then hang from the top like a vampire.
that's how you'd sleep. Yeah, from a hook in the ceiling. But what happened to you this week?
Well, Sam, last week when we spoke, I was in an airport coming home from California, and then I made it home and I brought back a strain of COVID-19 from California, a real nasty strain. So I was sick, and then I very promptly got my wife and infant daughter sick. And so it was rough. I also had ear infection in both ears. So I
Otherwise
was in
referred
bad
to as
shape for a few
a
days.
double ear infection.
A double ear infection. Yeah, I don't want people to think it's two ear infection in one ear. I'm trying to be really clear. But yeah, it was a bad time. I'm pretty much recovered now. My sweet, beautiful wife got hit even harder than I am. Um, so she's still in the process. But no joke, you guys. I went through whatever it is, 30 months without getting it, which I was happy about, and I did a lot of flying within that 30 months. And so maybe I got too cocky and COVID thought, not today, Brant. You know, so you're not leaving California healthy today.
Well, we're glad that you're recovering. You look better. It was a fast bout of COVID, it looks like.
It was a quick couple days. I felt good. I listen. I was negative by Tuesday because what a great segue. I went and voted. So let's talk about the elections that we had this past week, Sam. Let's maybe start with the highest level stuff, then go lower. Though they're all really important. There was a really competitive Republican Senate primary, and Eric Schmidt, the state attorney general, won the whole thing. He get this. This is kind of interesting to me. He won, Missouri overall by 45 at 45%, so a strong plurality. But in St. Charles County, he got 55%, so he won a majority. Outperformed even an extra 10%. Did you see that coming?
I did not see that coming. But Eric really closed it out, it seemed like, in the last weekend. Most of the people that I had talked to seemed to be like on the fence, and they're like, well, I really like that attorney general. You could just sort of feel it in the final weekend if you were paying attention.
Yeah, I get that. That. I mean, that's in a three-way field. 55%, which is what he got in St. Charles County. That's huge because I mean, in a lot of states, not in Missouri, but in a lot of states for sort of the highest level of political office, they have what we call runoff elections. Sam, I know you know what those are, but that's when if it's a divided field of 3 or 5 or 10 candidates in Missouri, right, the person who just gets the most vote wins, right? Eric Schmidt got 44% in all of Missouri, or 45%, so he wins. But in a lot of states, they have what's called a runoff election, where if someone doesn't hit 50%, doesn't hit a majority, the top two candidates have to run in another election a month later. So it's a real. I was really impressed that he got 45 in the state and then 55 in St. Charles County, which is one of sort of the Republican Party of Missouri's engines. There's a lot of
Yeah,
Republican voters and Republican primary voters in St. Charles County, and
yeah.
this is kind of I was reading someone I thought was good analysis that St. Charles County and Western St. Louis County, that was kind of Schmidt's. That was always a bit of his home turf when it comes to the type of voters that he was looking to appeal to, and they showed up.
Yeah, it seems like that's the case. I mean, I'll let the in-depth uh, analysis go to the pundits for the U.S. Senate race, but what I was really interested in looking at are some of these local races that
Yeah,
uh, folks may not have been paying attention to until really the closing weekend. Sort of the headline out of St. Charles County, we had a pretty
One,
high.
one more, Sam. I want you to lead on this great the really local races, but just one more federal thing I wanted to mention was, and I relatively politically plugged in. I read the news. I run a local news source. I did not realize that in my neighborhood in O'Fallon, I had been moved from the 3rd U.S. congressional district, represented by Blaine Luchtmeyer, to the 2nd. I'm now in the 2nd U.S. congressional district, represented by Congresswoman Ann Wagner. So I was a little bit, I did not look up my sample ballot. So I was a little bit surprised when I hit the polling place on Tuesday. But that's what happens sometimes with redistricting in the census, right?
Every 10 years, they'll redraw the lines and the governor will sign that. I'm still west enough. I remained in Blaine Luetkemeier's district, but for folks in Wentzville, Forestell, New Melly, you're just barely hanging on. And we're now the easternmost part of that congressional district that sort of snakes out all the way to Jefferson City and to the Lake of the Ozarks, where Blaine Luetkemeyer is from. Ann Wagner picked up, stays in the 2nd congressional, but her district now has pieces of Franklin County, much more of St. Charles County, less of St. Louis County. So it's like a upside down L, so to speak, that sort of wraps around the city and pairs nicely with Cori Bush's congressional district in the city, which also picked up a lot more of St. Louis County to the north, sort of cutting right along by the airport. She'll take most of that. But yeah,
There you go.
check out.
Sam's an expert there. So if you if you were surprised by what U.S. congressional district you live in, like Noah, let us know.
Let us know. But the headline that I wanted to get to is we're in the 2nd senatorial district for the state. Noah was talking Eric Schmidt, that's Washington senator. Here we're talking about Jefferson City, the state senator out of Missouri. If you're in really mid Rivers Drive and west, you're in the 2nd state Senate race, or the 2nd state Senate district, represented right now by Bob Onder, a pretty recognizable name. We've had articles about him in the past. He almost ran for county executive. He's retiring because of term limits, and so there is a new race there. Number 3 in the House of Representatives, John Wieman, ran against State Representative Nick Schroer. And Nick won with 57% of the vote, really closed it out in sort of the final push there. He will go on to presumably take on a Democrat there and most likely win. This is a heavily Republican district. And then if you are it, but I didn't vote for them, by the way. Noah probably did in O'Fallon.
That was my district. Yes. Yep. I was right about that.
He did know
because
that.
of the yard signs. I knew a lot of yard. I mean, I give both the Shore campaign and the Wieman campaign credit. It was like yard sign saturation in my part of St. Charles County. It was Lake St. Louis, O'Fallon. They were everywhere, and they were real tit for tat. There was a lot of both.
Good. Well, it means they had an aggressive ground game. And moving to the west, if you were in Wentzville, Forestell, New Melly, you were, well, not New Melly, but Forestell and Wentzville and Flint Hill, you're now in the new, you and me, we're in the new 10th state Senate district, which is almost entirely made up of the folks surrounding Jefferson City. It snakes all the way down. It's the new Jeannie Riddle seat. She's the state senator out of Lincoln County. She's retiring just like Bob Onder. And so we've been wrapped into the state Senate race there, the 10th.
That state Senate district goes down to Jeff City?
Yeah, because
wow,
we know this.
Gosh.
Because Travis Fitzwater won that election. But here's the thing, Noah. Travis in St. Charles County came in 3rd. He only got 17% of the vote. Mike Carter, who we all know well, 39% of the vote in Wentzville. But because so much of the district is focused in between here and Jefferson City, where Travis is from, I think he's from Cole County or Callaway County, one of the two. He won and squeaked that out at the last minute. So we have 2 new state senators, Nick Schroer, Travis Fitzwater, and Bill Eigel, who represents like places like St. Charles City, St. Peters, Cottleville.
And he was not that seat though is not up for election this year. So if you were in that state Senate district, is that one? If you were in one,
he's in District 24.
Or 24. Okay, what didn't Senator Anders' district used to be one?
He's in Senate District 2. But you're in Senate District 2.
Yeah, okay. So but anyway, Bill Eigel is not up for re-election this year. That so if you lived in St. Charles City, you didn't have a state senator to vote for. Sam, your that explanation is actually very educational for me because I'm on the St. Charles County voter turnout website ran by a director of elections, Kurt Barr, friend of the show, he's been on before, and it's so interesting. So Senate District 2 is very geographically compact. It's all St. Charles County, and it's all these couple towns right around there. And right, the two big vote getters, Representative Shore got 12,000 votes, and Representative Weeman got 8,000. So that's about 20,000 votes, both of them together. But then if you go down to State Senate District 10, the number one vote getter in St. Charles County, Judge Carter, got about 2,000. Brian Spencer also got about 1,700. Then Travis Fitzwater got 800. And I was thinking in my mind, why are those numbers so much lower? It's because there's also voters from a bunch of other counties that voted, and that's not included in the St. Charles County voter turnout
That's
data.
right. That's right. In order to look at the St. Charles County Director of Elections website, you have to take into account only races that are fully encompassed in St. Charles County. And right along there, Noah, we constantly talk about how St. Charles County is the fastest growing county in the state of Missouri. We picked up one new state representative seat because we're growing so fast. So one part of the state lost a state representative. We picked it up, and that pickup was in Wentzville proper, just south of where I live. I live in North Wentzville, but it's District 63 where Alderwoman Tricia Barnes from Wentzville took on relatively newcomer to politics Carla Claskin. Tricia Barnes won handily with only almost 70% of the vote. And then my state representative in District 64, which is North Wentzville and most of North St. Charles County, Tony Lavasco is the incumbent. He almost lost his seat. There was a three-way
Wow,
primary
that's
to
close.
unseat
Yeah.
Tony, and he won 36% to 34. He won by a whopping, if I can do the head math, 70 votes is how much he won by, which is a squeaky.
2%. Wow, your vote really matters, especially in local politics. Sam, can you give really lightly the contours of that race? Why was it such a competitive three-way race?
Tony has not always, as I understand it, voted along party lines. I think sort of
Sure.
drawing people who wanted to unseat him. We'll get to this in a second with the county council race. In fact, one incumbent lost his race, and that's sort of the story of the night. A few incumbents lost. Really, the headline out of the state behind the state Senate race. Bill White was a state senator in Joplin. He was running for reelection, and he was unseated by a state representative down there. They just didn't like the incumbent. So that's rare. It's
Mm.
rare to have incumbents draw challengers. Tony drew two, and but he was able to hold them off, and he will go back to Jefferson City in January as our representative in North Wentzville. Um, a couple of other of these races, State Representative 69, which is sort of St. Peter's area, this is actually a competitive race in November. The Democrat has a shot at this race. That is State Representative Adam, not Adam Schnelling, that's Adam Swadron, the other Adam. That's District 105, excuse me.
Mm.
And he won his race 2 years ago by less than 100 votes, if memory serves me correctly. And the Democrat,
Wow, that's so close for a
yeah,
general
for
election.
general, very, very close. So the Democrats have a chance there if they can draw turnout. But let's talk about.
Yeah, and District 103, that's my state rep district, had a competitive election between Dave Hinman, who's a city councilman for O'Fallon, and Dual Lauderdale, who, if I'm correct, has worked in the state house for now the candidate for state senate, Nick Shore, and that was relatively close. Dave Hinman pulled it out with 54%, while Lauderdale got
I
45.
like Dave. You know, he used to manage the Quick Trip in Lake St. Louis. I'd stop in and get my Slurpee and say hello to Dave. So he's a
Shout out.
friend of mine. Moving to the east in state representative district 106, you and I talked about Representative Hannigan, who passed away while in office earlier this year. It may have been
Yes.
last year. He passed away, so this election was to fill his slot. And Florissant's director of economic development, Travis Wilson, won that race handily by 44%. He beat, it was a four-way primary there. So congratulations to Travis. And
Wow.
finally, for the state rep roundup, the Lake St. Louis, you'll recall, we also did a story on this. Justin Hill, the state representative there, he resigned to take a job in Florida. And Justin Hicks is a young Politico. I think he's under the age of 30. He won his race handily with 52% of the vote. He's a veteran, used to work in the Attorney General's office, as I understand it, and really
Really sharp
looks like
guy.
he's got some momentum behind him. Interested to see what he does in his race. But let's get to the headline. The local politics matters a lot, especially when you're voting local politics. County Council District number 1, Joe Cronin, a longtime incumbent in the St. Charles County government, was defeated on Tuesday. Get this, he got 26% of the vote, the incumbent. The two other opponents combined both beat him, which is very, very rare. And they combined
Yeah.
got over 70% of the vote.
That's a
That means
message.
7 out of 10 people in his district did not want him representing them. And he's been in office for like a decade.
Wow. That's a message, Sam.
And
That's a
here's another
message.
message, Noah. In County Council District 3, Mike Elam, who is the chairman or was the chairman of the St. Charles County Council, sort of a leader in St. Charles County itself, Mike Elam, he won by 104 votes, 50% to 49.1%. He won by less than 1% of the vote.
That's what we call a squeaker. I'm not even involved in any of these races, Sam, and the closeness makes me sweat.
Yeah, it does. Another incumbent lost.
Oh.
County Council District 7, John White, was unseated by Tim Baker. I don't know anything about Tim, but he was beat by 13%. There,
Isn't that your county
I'm
council
in
district
one.
or no?
I'm in one.
You're in
Yep.
one. Okay. Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's sort of a roundup, folks. We got a little nerdy on you for 17 minutes, sort of diving into St. Charles County politics. Here's the bottom line from all of this. None of this matters until November. Then we'll be able to actually tell, with these incumbents gone, is the county government going to look different? Are there going to be different initiatives or new priorities? Will there be a new leader elected in St. Charles County? Another headline, county prosecutor Tim Lomar was charged with a DUI. Whether he was, what happens with that, we don't know. He was reelected handily to his seat.
Uncontested.
Uncontested. So we'll see. We have basically our horses are picked for November, and we'll be able to keep an eye on that in the new year.
Well, Sam, it was an exciting time. Always a great opportunity to go vote. And as you can see, primaries are important. Even if you don't consider yourself really too fond of either political party. I know there's a lot of people out there. I would really encourage you to go vote, pick a ballot. You don't need to be registered to any party in Missouri to
Not yet.
vote in that primary. You can just go show up right now, right? Well, whatever might happen for right now, you can just go show up, and they can just say, do you want a Democratic ballot or a Republican ballot? And you can vote in the primary. And, a lot of people like to complain about the binary choices that we have in November. And the best way to influence those binary choices is to vote in these primaries, which sometimes are very low turnout, or even if they're not that low turnout, some very small margins can shift what happened, like in some of the races that Sam mentioned. Sam, we've already been talking for a long time, really nerding out. So I say we move directly to our weekly smile, and I'll go ahead and pose the question to you. I think I know what the answer is, because I know it just makes you smile just diving into the data. You're such a data man. But what's been making you smile?
Here's
this
the
week?
headline, Noah. St. Peter's man meets dispatcher who helped save his life last week while floodwaters rushed around his vehicle. His name escapes me, but Channel 4 had this story. He called 911 when he was driving on Mexico Road when historic flooding swept his pickup into Spencer Creek. He called 911 and spoke to dispatcher Michael Buckmore, and he said, "I'm here because of what you did, and you got me out, and a rescue could find me." And he said, "It's incredible that I got to meet you." I'm paraphrasing him, but he was on a 45-minute phone call with 911 who helped save his life. And Channel 4 has the full story. We'll link to it in our news article. But what a touching story. Imagine getting swept into a creek in what I can only assume is the middle of the night, because that's when the flooding happened, around 3 a.m. and calling
Wow.
911. And that could be, the last voice you hear. You want it to be reassuring. Thank God that this man lived, and we have tremendous first responders who arguably risked their lives to save this guy stuck in a creek. Read the story. I'm not going to spoil it for you. He's alive and well, but folks, treasure every moment. And when you see flooding, turn around. Don't drive into it. You can be late for that event, and that's what we've learned. I think last week, just turn around. Noah, how about you?
Great story, Sam. Great smile. Yeah, absolutely. And the dispatchers are heroes too. It's like that. That is tough work, being a dispatcher, and to be a good dispatcher, right? It's a talent, and such an important skill. And they deal with a lot of hard and sad things. So I love it whenever there's a good story like this. Sam, like you said, cherish every day. I'm a man of faith, Sam, and there's nothing better than sort of getting to do some sort of faith activity with a recent convert, right? There's a reason why we have the phrase "the zeal of a convert," because it's like someone who recently discovered faith. A lot of times acts in a really excited way, and that's just how I feel about life, Sam. I recovered from COVID and from the double ear infection. And man, it is tough to feel sick. It makes me have sympathy for sick people and old people. A lot of times you're always like, why are old people grumpy? You're like, oh, because sometimes they're in physical pain, and that's really tough. And so I'm just really, really grateful to have kicked the disease. And I went a while without getting it, and then I got it, and it was a rough couple days. But it's making me smile that I can hear you again, because I could not hear for a couple days, and that I can breathe without coughing. And so I appreciate that very much. Anyway, folks, we appreciate you listening, Sam and I here, to the St. Charles County Correspondent. We loved interacting with everyone, especially last week about the flood. There were some really great comments and people sharing information. That's what we love to do at the St. Charles County Correspondent, is just bring people local information that helps improve your life. Make sure to subscribe to our Substack at scc.substack.com. Visit us at St. Charles Today, which is our website where we share a lot of terrific updates, and then connect with us on Facebook. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to talking to you next week. This is Noah Brandt and Sam Safa, and we are the St. Charles County Correspondent.